A very good afternoon, and thanks for clicking on to the Tropical Outlook for Sunday, the 4th of August. Before we continue with the video, please like and subscribe. It would be much appreciated. We do have plenty of things to talk about in today's Tropical Outlook, with a busy East Pacific, and now we have newly formed Tropical Storm Debby. That is likely to make an impact up across Florida through the course of today and into tomorrow. So the East Pacific is pretty busy at the moment. It's all courtesy of the MJO being in a favourable state at the moment. We have got a phase 8 into 1 of the MJO, so that means that we've got large-scale rising air over the East Pacific and West Atlantic basin. We obviously, about a week ago, had quite a lot of activity within the western portion of the Pacific basin, but that has now shifted across the Pacific into the east and into the West Atlantic. So we have a Pacific that has Carlotta as a Category 1 80-mile-per-hour hurricane. We also have Daniel, and we have two other disturbances, one with a 40% chance of formation over the next 48 hours, and we have a 70% chance of development over the next 48 hours with this feature here further east. Looking into the Atlantic basin, there is Debby that will be making a jog towards the northwest of Florida. Currently 45-mile-per-hour sustained winds with a pressure of 103 millibars, moving at 12 knots or 14 miles per hour in a northwesterly direction. If we click on to Debby, this is the official track seen by the National Hurricane Center, and you notice that it is expected to become a hurricane before it makes a landfall somewhere within the Appalachia Bay region of Florida during the early portions of tomorrow morning. So that's around 8 a.m. just off the coast of Florida, the northwest coast, as a Category 1 hurricane probably. So I also want to kind of talk a little bit in today's video with regards to La Niña, that is continuing to show some very, very gradual strengthening. You can see here that if we look at the 7-day change in sea surface temperatures, there is slight cooling taking place, very, very slightly. It is a slow process. If we look at the official La Niña, El Nino measuring point here, which is Niña region 3.4, there has been a continued drop down close to a half a degree below average now sea surface temperature anomalies here, but we are still seeing a little bit of a kind of resistance taking place here. We did have a strengthening of the easterly trades over this region, allowing some upwelling to take place, but it is a slow process, and I think it will eventually become an official La Niña over the next couple of months here, and we'll wait and see what happens in terms of what influence that has on the atmosphere. But you can see here, seen by the CFSV2 for the month of September, we have got quite a central La Niña evolution taking place here within the model. If we skip on into October, it's very much Central Pacific based, if you notice. And then into November and December, it becomes a little bit stronger towards the late autumn, early winter time frame. This is the month of January here, seen on the CFS-V2. If we look at the other models here, not overly enthusiastic on the NMME model, or in fact it is, but some of the models are actually showing quite a weak state. This is July through September here. You can see the La Niña signature becoming a little bit more evident. Then we move August to October, September to November, and into October through December. So this is late autumn into the early winter season. You can see here the La Niña signature showing quite nicely. Looking at the CANCEPS model here for the month of August, not particularly strong looking. Even into the month of September here, it is very, very slow to develop here, but it's once you get into the autumn season, you notice here that it is becoming a little bit more organized here, but not massively so. So we'll continue to obviously monitor La Niña's development going forward here, but I wanted to show you the current position of Tropical Storm Debby. It is positioned just off the northwest coast of Cuba here, spinning away. If we look at the latest on the actual system itself, you can see Debby becoming a little bit better organized. Now, it has been encountering some shear. The circulation itself has had a little bit of an open wave dynamic to it, especially on the west and southwestern side of the system. Strongest winds in the east, and we have had the final closure of the circulation itself. It's been quite an open wave, quite disorganized, but you notice here in the latest GOES 16 temperature brightness, you can see the deeper convection now starting to blow up. The center of Debby is positioned around about here, and it's on this eastern side we're seeing the deepest convection start to blow up. If we look at the latest satellite imagery here on a broader scale, you can see what's taking place here. So let's have a look and see what we can find here on Debby itself. So just bear with me a little second here. Sorry about this. Let's have a look at the Atlantic basin here and show you what's taking place here. So we've got quite an active East Pacific at the moment here, with a large area of upward motion here, the west portion of the Atlantic basin. Also, we have got a few more waves now starting to exit the African coast. We'll need to keep an eye on that over the next few days here as well. We've got quite two areas of deep convection here blowing up at the very end of this loop here. So we're starting to kind of lose a little bit of intensity of the dry air to the north here. But here is Debby. You notice here that there's quite a large envelope of low pressure. We've got an area of high pressure over the southern plain states. We've got the Bermuda High to the east. And what that's doing is Debby is going to start to feel a trough that is moving eastwards over the Ohio Valley towards the east coast here. You can see a frontal system associated with that here. So a ridge in the east to the east-northeast, a ridge building to the west. And what that is going to do is it's going to allow Debby to start to head northeastwards over the next 24 hours or so here. Looking at the multi-model run here, you can see that the general consensus heads towards Appalachia Bay here, the northwest of Florida. And then what happens is that we're going to start to see pressure build to the north here. It's kind of going to shut the door slightly to a northwesterly track out into the North Atlantic here. As heights rise to the north, it then will generate a kind of northwesterly flow. We're going to see some fairly strong westerly winds within the mid and upper levels of the atmosphere. That is going to kind of suppress the intensity of Debby going forward. And it's essentially going to cause the system to not rapidly develop. Now, we do have sea surface temperatures that are well conducive here. We've got very deep, warm water at around 30 Celsius here. And that 30 Celsius extends quite far down below the surface here. So there is very, very conducive oceanic conditions here. It's actually the atmosphere that is going to cause a little bit of resistance on Debby as we progress through the next few days here. So if we look at the models here of the GFS and the ECMWF, you can generally see some of the shear going on. So if we look at the this is the current average precipitation rate, mean sea level pressure, etc., etc. There's the strong ridge of high pressure over the Atlantic here, the Bermuda High. That is basically competing along with this area of high pressure over the United States, and that's creating this open door between the two sails itself for Debby to move northwards here. But if we look at the 500 millibar pattern, let's see just initially where the system is expected to track. This is just the one model, GFS operational, and it takes it up towards the northeast corner of the Gulf of Mexico, deepening to around 989, 990 millibars seen by the GFS model here. You can see the close contours, the tightening of the system itself. So it is expected to strengthen, but we do also have westerly shear that is going to cause some element of resistance as Debby heads towards the northeast corner of the Gulf of Mexico here. What is happening is we're going to see pressure build to the north, and we're actually going to start to generate northeasterly winds that is going to start to kind of cause resistance and a slowdown of the northeasterly track here of the circulation itself. You can see here as we continue to play through here, those winds coming in out of the north is going to slow down the northward progress, and eventually what's going to happen is it's going to kind of become stuck. Debby's going to get trapped underneath a building ridge to the north, and that means that we are going to see the potential of some fairly significant rainfall. This is off the QPF model, 120 hours or 5 days, and you can see here that we are expecting to see quite a widespread area of over 10 to 15 inches of rain over the next 5 days or so. So the biggest problem with Debby is not going to be the wind. It may be the storm surge. This is quite a vulnerable coastline here to storm surge, quite a low level. The only saving grace would be that we've not got a huge amount of population in this part of Florida, but nonetheless there is likely to be an element of storm surge. But I think rainfall is actually going to be the biggest problem with Debby. Now, looking at the model here, you can see the total precipitable water in millimeters and the 850 temp winds here. You can see here that we've got quite a large envelope of moisture here, so it is self-sustaining. It's not encountering too much in the way of dry air over the lower 48 here. And then as the system moves northwards here, the heights build to the north, and essentially it starts to stall out Debby, and that means that we're going to continue to see rains coming down for a couple of days on end here, which may cause some problems. Looking at the 500 millibar pattern here, this is the anomaly, and you can see if we play back through the loop here, we've got the Bermuda High to the west here over the Atlantic. We've got this trough pushing eastwards. That's a tugging and allowing the northward track of Debby. And then it's as Debby makes a landfall somewhere within the northwest corner of Florida, you notice here that we're starting to build that high pressure further eastwards, and then that closes the door to the system. And there's a lot of question mark over where Debby actually tracks beyond landfall sometime tomorrow morning. So you can see a system coming ashore, likely as a weak Category 1 hurricane, maybe 80-85 miles per hour perhaps, moving on shore in northwestern Florida, stalling out, bringing some very significant amounts of rain over Florida, over the southeast, so anywhere from as far west as Mississippi, all the way up into the Carolinas here. Georgia is going to see some very significant rains over the next couple of days with Debby. The question mark is going to be, how much rain do we see, and where does the system eventually go? Does it stay over land and kind of rain itself out, or does the system find a path out into the North Atlantic? These are going to be the questions that we will only find out with time. Looking at the GFS model here, and let's go back to the mean sea level pressure and precipitation here. So you can see the system over the southeast. Let's skip back. You can see here that as we play through the loop, there's a system moving onshore. Then it kind of takes a southward jog again. Then it moves out over the Atlantic waters once again, starts to potentially deepen, and then move back onshore into the Savannah, Georgia area. So you notice here that it doesn't go anywhere. It becomes trapped that high to the north, just shuts that northward door, and eventually the system kind of just peters itself out. Playing through the loop here, Nothing necessarily imminent in terms of those waves over the open Atlantic basin. This is all the way out to Tuesday, the 20th of August, but I would suspect we need to keep a close eye on this going forward because of the MJO being in phase 8 and 1. So that's it for today. Thanks for watching. I do appreciate that. Like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you tomorrow with more. Bye for now.